What's up, everyone? You're listening to the TTP. I'm your host, Tanner Staggs. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Tyler Staggs. We had to get in here and record an episode today. It's way, way earlier than we would typically record our episodes. But, Tyler, I mean, we had to come in here and record today. I felt like, originally, after I heard the news, and everyone knows the news. We're going to talk about it here in just a second. But after I heard the news, originally I was kind of like, okay, we need to move the show up, and we talked about that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, maybe we can move it up to Tuesday. And then as the day went on, it just kept like being on my mind. And eventually I was just like, okay, we got to do a fucking show today.
Yeah.
And so I make myself an iced coffee, which, by the way, undefeated. Fucking amazing iced coffee. And I was like, take one sip, and I'm like, I'm texting Tyler, we're doing an episode today.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, whenever I seen the news broke, I was like, okay, I'm ready to be in there now, recording. Like, we need to get this going today. And I sent you a message like, hey, well, what are we going to do? You know, we need to record earlier than Thursdays when we normally record. We need to get this out there and talk about this. So, you know, whenever you said, yeah, we'll try and work something out, then you sent me a text, hey, you good to record right now? Hell yeah, I'm good to record right now. Get your ass up here.
And so, I mean, obviously, the news that everyone is thinking about, that's on their minds right now, Tennessee Titans bringing back ex-quarterback Rusty Smith for the 2021 season. And it's just going to be one hell of a season, is all I got to say.
Man, right? Why you got to troll our fans like that, man?
Okay, so obviously Julio Jones is a fucking Tennessee Titan.
Julio.
Okay, so the number one thing that's been on my mind, and this is just weird, but like, what number is he going to wear? I just don't see him wearing the number 8.
Unfortunately, they've talked to Ryan Tannehill and A.J. Brown from what I've seen so far on Twitter today. And A.J. Brown has said that, you know, he's been talking to Vrabel some, and he's told pretty much everyone else, hold off on buying any jerseys for another month or so. So I'm sitting here with my A.J. Brown number 11 jersey, like, are you kidding me?
Dude, just tape Jones over it. It's not like...
Because he did say that it's obvious. He's looked up to Julio, and Julio's like a big brother to him. So if Julio comes in and he wants the number 11 to finish out his career, hopefully with the Titans, then A.J. Brown's going to give him 11.
Okay, so yeah, because I mean, there's a real possibility if he does play 3 years with the Titans that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
So,
but before we get into anything too deep, let's go ahead and let everyone know that there is a couple of things that could help the podcast out if they would be super kind and do that for us. And number one, first and foremost, is to help us out on social media. We're trying to get that really going. And, I mean, obviously we've been on social media since the beginning of the podcast, but we're trying to get things rolling on there. And we're
really
trying to gain some traction, get more interaction. The ones that we're most active on, Twitter, Titans_time, Facebook, Titans Time. You can find us on Instagram, Titans Time Podcast. I can't say that you're really going to see a whole lot on there right now because we've been not really on there. But also, Tyler, let them know how to help out the podcast just in general.
Continuing on with the social medias, guys, we want to hear from all our fans. We want to interact with y'all. It's fun for us. Sometimes it gives us another perspective that we didn't even think of, because being brothers, sometimes we think too much alike. You know,
by the way, I'm using my Dave & Buster's cup, keeping the logo turned around because they're not paying us shit. So I'm not doing anything.
Then why'd you even mention them? I mean,
anyways.
Come on. But like he mentioned, just on the podcast apps on YouTube, go and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Leave us a like on the video, share the videos. If you're on YouTube and you subscribe, turn on the post notification. I mean, it really helps us out a lot, and we truly do appreciate it.
If you already are subscribed and you're not liking and commenting on the videos, go do that, because it helps more than you know. So just that little, go down, take 1 second to like the video. Even if you don't want to go down and comment, just go down and like, because it helps a lot.
And even if we don't respond to like every comment on YouTube, I know I go and check them. I'm sure you go and
Yeah,
check
I mean,
them.
I'll look at them.
So, like I said, it just gives us a different perspective from what our fans are seeing.
Yeah. So now let's get into this. Julio Jones getting traded to the Tennessee Titans. The terms, the Titans are trading.
Wait, before you even... Let's just go ahead and say it. The J-Rob robbed the Falcons here.
Yeah, I think he made a good. But we're going to talk about that. But let's get it out there what it actually is first. Titans are trading a 2022 second, so from next year's draft, and then a 2023 fourth round to Atlanta. They're sending Julio Jones and a sixth round pick in 2023. So
essentially a second round pick.
A second round pick, and then swap a fourth for a sixth in the draft after that. And then you're getting Julio Jones, which is, you're going to think that it's better than I do. I still think it's a good trade, borderline great trade. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter what the details are. We got Julio Jones, and that automatically makes the Tennessee Titans a Super Bowl contender right now. So go ahead and get your Super Bowl tickets for 2022 because the Tennessee Titans are going to be there.
Let's put it this way.
Let's put it this way.
I don't know if you've seen this yet or not, but the Titans didn't use a first-round pick to get any of their core offensive players. They traded a...
Hold up.
Okay.
Hold up. Just 1 second. Respect my man Taylor Lewan, please. Respect him, please.
I'm talking about their...
That's all I'm saying. I mean, they're core offensive players. No first round pick. Taylor Lewan at left tackle has been a centerpiece of the Tennessee Titans offense for several years.
Okay, you're missing the point of skill players. Linemen are not necessarily considered skill players. So, they have not used a first round pick.
He was literally a top 15 pick. The dude was a number 11 pick in the NFL draft.
Okay.
And he's getting absolutely zero respect. Like, that's all I'm saying. The dude is literally playing one of the toughest positions in football. One of the most valuable positions in football. Have you watched the movie Blindside? Okay, it literally goes through it for you right there. Lets you know why it's a valuable position.
Hey,
I see all these graphics going around. Taylor Lewan was a first-round pick.
Okay, we are talking about skill players. They're core skill players.
Taylor Lewan's skilled. I mean, come on.
Anyway, enough from you right now, so our viewers can hear this. For their skill players, their core, they traded a fourth-round pick for Ryan Tannehill. They used a second-round pick on Derrick Henry. They used a second-round pick on A.J. Brown. And they traded, essentially, just a second-round pick for Julio Jones.
I don't give a fuck. I'm fighting for the boy.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, seriously. He's even on Twitter a little bit upset about it. Like, he commented back on one of the infographics and was just like, ...
What happened to... Okay.
I mean, I was scrolling through. I just thought that was hilarious. Like, everybody's like... Yeah, so the Titans' whole offense, basically, there's no number one picks. For all the people that matter, no number one picks have been used. And then Taylor Lewan's just kind of sitting there like, I know I tore my ACL, but seriously, guys, like, what's the deal?
And I feel like I could use the whole thing because we're nowhere near big enough that they're going to come after us for that. So.
Who cares? So let's talk about the receiving core now and kind of how things... sorry. Are shaping up because things look a lot better now than they did just a couple of days ago, just obviously because you throw a superstar in the mix. Now that we have Julio Jones,
yes,
would you have been okay if the Titans didn't trade for him?
I would have been okay if they didn't trade for him, but I'm glad that they did.
I think I would have acted okay if they didn't trade for him, but I think deep down...
Until we get like 3 weeks in the season.
When the games actually started coming around and Julio's playing for like the Seahawks or something, and they're throwing it to DK Metcalf, and then they're throwing it to Julio, and Russ has like 15 touchdowns through 3 games or whatever. I think I kind of would have been like, damn, I wish we would have traded for Julio.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It would have been one of those things where I probably would have been like, man, I really wish we could have got a deal worked out for Julio. but I would have been okay with the pieces that we had. But just adding Julio to the mix, and you think about this, the Titans just have big bodies all around at receiver.
For sure.
And A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, and Josh Reynolds, you can literally just move those three guys around.
Slot.
Yeah, they've all played in the slot. You can put them outside. I mean, you can create matchup nightmares for teams right now.
Yeah. Okay, so now just to like spark a debate and whatnot, who's the wide receiver one?
AJ.
You think AJ Brown's still the wide receiver one?
AJ's going to be the wide receiver one.
And I mean, honestly, does it really matter? Like, it doesn't matter.
Because last year we talked about how this is going to be funny to say now, looking back, we said that AJ and Corey were kind of like a 1A, 1B. Because they were both kind of on the same track, both on track for 1,000 yards last season. We knew AJ was the number one guy, but Corey Davis was stepping up through most of the year and playing like what we hoped he would play like. But now we truly have that 1A, 1B. Because AJ, the reason I say he is the number one, he's the young stud. And Julio can sit back now, and instead of all the focus being on him, it's going to go to AJ, which allows Julio to have more one-on-one matchups. And, he knows coming into this that, from the interview with John Robinson today, they asked him, Julio averaged like 9 targets a game in Atlanta. Now he's coming to a run-first team in the Titans. You have A.J. Brown over there who's going to get several targets. They asked him how much the targets are going to matter to Julio. And Julio said, look, I just want to win. Like, he understands there may be games where he's targeted more, and there may be games where he's only targeted 1 or 2 times. But
I hope that they targeted more than 1 or 2 times in the game. Like, if you're gonna bring in a guy like this, use him. Use him.
They're going to.
And this is the point that I wanted to get to, is that we are not we, but the Titans are paying a lot of money to a guy in a position where you typically would not pay a lot of money because of one thing, and that's durability. So now that we actually have like a top tier, top of the NFL, like at least top 5 passing game, like, okay, let's not put such a big workload on Derrick Henry. And I know that you're going to be completely anti on this, but let's not put such a big workload on Derrick Henry. Let's add a couple of more throws to the mix. Let's keep Julio not maybe at the same volume that he was at with the Falcons, but let's keep Julio getting some big numbers. Let's keep AJ getting some big numbers. Let's give some of these other guys that we have that have some talent. Josh Reynolds, I want to talk about him here in a minute, because I saw a take today that was amazing, and I have a completely different viewpoint on Josh Reynolds now. And then you've got Ferguson. Like, let's utilize this passing game. I think Ryan Tannehill can be a top 5, top 3, if not quarterback this next season. Not saying let's not use Derrick Henry, because, like, obviously he's this amazing running back, but maybe just tone him down just a little bit so he can last the rest of his contract.
Well, let me put it this way. You said that I was going to be completely against that, but I think I'm remembering this right. If you go back and look at last season and really break it down, the Titans, as far as run plays and pass plays, were one of the most balanced teams in the NFL when it came to that. So,
yeah, but now here's the thing: everybody else is leaning. Not everybody,
yeah, but look,
most people are leaning more towards pass.
Let me make this point though. Most other teams don't have Derrick Henry in the backfield to match with their top receivers.
Exactly. So don't burn this guy out. You've got someone that's different than anyone else in the whole entire NFL. Don't burn him out.
Shut up for a minute and let me finish my point here. Now you have AJ and Julio, and then Derrick Henry, and this is going to bring me to the point that I've had right here, is Teron Davenport put this tweet out asking, how do you want to defend the Titans? If you put a 6-man box, so 5 defenders going back, Derrick Henry won't mind. He's averaged 5.3 yards per rush the last 2 years against a 6-man front. So, and that's he only averages around 4.3 rushes per game against that six-man front. So only 4 times a game he sees that, and he goes for over 5 yards a carry. Okay, you put 7 guys in the box. A.J. Brown goes to work. Over the last 3 years, he's averaging a league-high 4.3 receiving yards per route run against a 7-man box. 8-man box, so only 3 guys back. Over the last 5 years, Julio Jones has 634 receiving yards against an 8-man box, or 163 more than anyone else. He's averaging 4.7 yards per route run against 8-man fronts. The best of any wide receiver with 100 or more of those routes run. So that's why I'm saying you can be even more balanced now, because it's going to depend on the type of, if they want to load up the box to stop Henry. If they're wanting to load up the box to stop Henry all game long, then yes, air that ball out, because guys are not going to be able to do single coverage on A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. And once you start burning them with that, that's where you balance back out, because they're going to be taking people out of the box, and Derrick Henry is just going to have an absolute field day.
Well, here's what I'm saying, is that even in games where teams would play with an 8-man box, they would stack the box, and especially in games like when Corey Davis might have been out or when A.J. Brown might have been out, we would see Derrick Henry on several attempts run into one of those 8-man boxes. They would still run the ball. And all I'm saying is, it doesn't even have to be a whole lot, but lighten the workload on him just a little bit. In situations where it doesn't even make sense to run, don't run him, and you can save this guy maybe just a little bit and add a little bit of length onto his career.
I'm pretty sure you have been on record on this podcast saying as well, though, that the more the guy gets hit and everything, he gets stronger.
In a game, not over the course of a season, not over the course of his career.
He gets better as the season goes on.
Okay, but here's the thing. In a game setting, the more that he gets hit, or the way that I like to put it, the more that he hits the defenders, he's wearing them down. Over the course of his career, though, there's obviously some wear and tear on him. I don't think you can just say, well, this guy's just going to keep getting older and he's just going to keep being more and more of a beast. Every time he gets hit, it adds like 5 pounds to his bench press. So, he's got...
it very well could.
Well, you could be right there. But all I'm saying is, maybe save him just a little bit in certain situations where it makes sense, because now there is a reason to. You can throw to Julio Jones. You can throw to A.J. Brown. This is a top 5 passing offense, a top 5 rushing offense. You can do whatever you want.
That's why I'm saying you don't just sell out on the pass.
I'm not saying completely abandon the run. Just throw the ball. Set Derrick Henry on the sideline for a whole season, or 2. Wait till we don't have Julio anymore, and then be like, all right. Derrick, come on, let's start running the ball again.
I get where you're coming from, but one thing that sets up our big plays is our run game and the play action.
Play action works whether or not you establish run before.
Not really. Because
in a lot of cases,
if a team does not respect your run game, they're not going to fall for the play action.
But here's what I'm saying. With Derrick Henry, it works either way. Because if Derrick Henry's on the field, they're respecting your run game. He doesn't have to... At this point in his career, 2 seasons ago, yes, I agree with you 100%. Next year, Derrick Henry steps on the field and you fake a handoff to him, someone on the other side of the ball is shitting their pants. It doesn't matter. You don't have to establish it. That fact has already been established.
I can see where you're coming from, but I still think that they're going to be a very balanced offense, and maybe, which we're adding a game this year. We can't forget that. So I don't want to go out on a limb and say that Henry's going to end up with less carries than what he had this previous year.
But maybe he stays the same.
Right. Maybe he stays the same around that, same amount, even with an extra game added.
I even think, and this kind of sucks to say, but I even think with an extra game added, and I hate comparing it to this, but you might almost see the NBA approach where at least one game this next season, and I'm not going to say more than one because all they're adding is one, but in one game this season, you might see a player sit out a game and they're not even injured.
I don't know that that'll happen. But
I'm
are you
just
talking
saying-
about,
I'm
are you
not
talking about
saying-
for just the Titans or around the NFL?
No, around the NFL. I think you can see that happen.
That might happen.
And I'm not going to like say I know it's going to happen for a fact, but I would not be surprised if you saw that happen.
But, I mean, that case could also be the same as any previous NFL season where a team has, the first round bye locked up and they rest their guys the final week.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, in a game where it might actually matter, you might see a guy, as more games get added, because this is not the end for the NFL adding games onto the season. You're going to see players start to say, this is nuts. Like, I'm not playing 20 NFL games in the course of, like, how long?
You talking about 20
months?
regular season games?
Yeah, I'm not playing 20 regular season games and then going to play the playoffs in the course of 5 or 6 months. I'm going to sit out a game or two, even if I'm not injured.
Now, kind of jumping away from that, I want to ask you, we both said that we could see the Titans getting, I believe, 11 or 12 wins before the Julio trade happened.
In my opinion, it doesn't really change anything.
You don't think it changes?
I don't think it changes anything as far as wins go. Well, I don't know. I could see them jump up to like a 13-win season.
That's what I was about to say. I could see them now jumping up to a for sure 12 or 13 wins this season.
I think that's a possibility, but in my opinion, what this really does is this gives them a really, really good chance of winning, of making it through the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
because you can keep up with the Chiefs now. You can keep up with the Tampa, which obviously this would be Super Bowl, but you can keep up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now.
Well, and I've said, talking to another friend today, we were talking about this, and he said to me something about, with this trade happening, the Titans winning the AFC. And I said, oh, for sure, that is a great possibility. Now,
just like it was last year.
Right. It's just, you increase your chances more, just like over the next couple years, their chances of making it to the Super Bowl and winning it are even greater now, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you added a superstar. And just hope that this guy can stay healthy this season. Because, I mean, you're talking about, I hated saying a window, but with Julio Jones, you're talking about a window here. I mean, how long is his durability going to last?
There's certain players that you have to pull the trigger for and go and get.
Yeah, for sure. And Julio Jones is one of those guys because he is just a beast. I mean, and I don't know of one cornerback in the NFL that I would say you put him one-on-one on Julio Jones and I think he could stop him more than not.
And another thing we haven't even mentioned yet, just imagine how much this is going to help our defense. Now our defensive backs have to line up against these guys every day in practice. Caleb Farley tweeted out, like, hey, bring all the smoke, I want it. Guess what, young fella? You're fixing to get it between A.J. Brown and Julio Jones.
I mean, I remember as a child watching Julio Jones on TV, like in warm-ups, and I'm just like, this guy is freaking nuts. Like, on a TV, you can tell that he is light years better than everyone else on the field.
You have Julio Jones, who is 6'3", 220. You have, or 220 to 230, something like that. You have A.J. Brown, who's 6 foot, 6'1", like 230 pounds. You have Derrick Henry, who's 6'3", basically 250 pounds.
Well, and okay, so here's something I was about to say. Like, so say like someone came from a different planet, okay? There's 4 guys on the Titans that they could look at those guys next to like a water boy and they would think these are not from the same planet. Like, there's 4 guys that just are so talented and athletic that they are literally light years beyond any human being other than some other guys in the NFL. Julio, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry, and I would even
go
as far probably to say someone like Jeffrey Simmons.
Okay.
Because, like,
look, whenever you're coming out I mean, you're laying this case down strong. Four guys, and
I said four off the top of my head, but really I meant three. But Jeffrey Simmons, I would throw in that mix too.
That's what I was getting at. Is I knew three of them that you were thinking of, and then I got to thinking a little bit harder. I was like, he's got to be talking about Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah,
because again, that's another guy this year who is with the additions to the defensive line. He's fixing to eat this year
for sure. So, I mean, you literally have guys that even compared to professional athletes in the NFL, they still stand out in that setting. So, I mean, they just have so much athleticism.
We've been bouncing around a little bit, and I just realized that I did not let you answer your own question earlier about who the number one receiver is going to be.
I think that I would probably say there, at least for this next season, there is no number one. After that, A.J. Brown's taking over the reins. If Julio stays. So, I mean, one of the things for me now is, like, just look at the depth on this, in the wide receivers, really. So, you've got A.J. Brown, who has established himself as a wide receiver one in the NFL. You've got Julio Jones, who on any other team is a wide receiver one. In most cases, he's a wide receiver one. And, like, here, it's like these guys are interchangeable, pretty much. Like, either one of them can be a wide receiver one on any given day. And now, you've also got Josh Reynolds, who, I believe it was Titans Tonk on Twitter. Like, this guy's basically Corey Davis. Yeah, I mean, seriously, he's like, I'm going to pull up the numbers here. Josh Reynolds, 6'3", 196. Okay? And then Corey Davis, 6'3", 209. Okay, now let's look at the stats. So last season, you've got Josh Reynolds at 25 years old. He played in all 16 games. But he had 52 receptions for 618 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then obviously last season was really good for Corey Davis. But you look at the season before that, and Corey Davis was 43 receptions, not as many receptions, but 601 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, these dudes' stats, especially for Corey Davis being like a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, Josh Reynolds has been a 3.
Right.
So,
and he's still going to be the 3.
He's still going to be the 3, but like this dude, in my opinion, if he were given the opportunity to be a 1 or a 2, I think he would be putting up Corey Davis-like numbers, like as in Corey Davis last season numbers.
He's almost doing that as the wide receiver.
As the wide receiver 3.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say this. I believe this year, even though he's going to be the wide receiver 3, I think he's still going to have a career year.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a career year. But he's basically Corey Davis. And so you're looking at this and you're thinking, all right, so yeah, we did lose Corey Davis, but now we have A.J. Brown, Julio Jones. Mm-hmm. So where Corey Davis was, you have Julio Jones, which is a lot better.
Yeah.
And then you have Josh Reynolds, who's basically Corey Davis. And then your wide receiver 4, you have a rookie that I was excited about as a number 3 guy.
Right.
So, like, I'm pumped about it, and I think that this offense is going to be pretty much unstoppable. And, I mean, really, the only place that you could see a little cause for concern is at tight end. I'm super optimistic about the offensive line. I mean,
but even with tight end, J-Rob may still have something in the works.
And really, here's the thing. Don't know. With the wide receiving core, and then they've got some tight ends that can get out there and block for the run. They've even got some guys that are good possession tight ends. Like, they've got guys that they can plug and fill in different situations. They don't have one guy that is an all-around Swiss Army knife. He can catch the ball, he can get out there and block, he can do this and that. But they've got different guys that they can use almost like a tight end by committee, and it will work. So, in my opinion, there's almost nothing to be worried about on this offense. Like I said, I'm super optimistic about the offensive line. I don't know how you feel, but they've done some things really to improve it, especially drafting the rookie. Love that dude. Kendall Lamb and, Aaron Brewer, I'm excited about him, see what he can do. Just a lot of things I'm excited about on the offense.
Yeah, same here. I'm excited about all those guys. I feel good about our line. I even feel, pretty good about our tight end group, mainly because of Ferkser.
Yeah.
Because we know that he can go out there, run his route, get open, and he's going to catch the ball.
And just because I love that dude. He's just awesome.
So, and now with adding Julio to the mix, teams definitely aren't going to be able to focus on, Ferkser as much.
What we said last week about Ferkser, dudes are coming in and they're like, yeah, you're going to be, we were making jokes like, yeah, right. We got to worry about this guy. Now, with Julio Jones in the mix, Ferkser might not even make it into the defensive talks for the other team. Right. They literally might not even discuss this guy.
And, you kept bringing up basically Julio taking Corey Davis's place and how Julio is so much better. John Robinson was just so smart about this because Corey Davis, if we would have picked up his fifth-year option, it would have been, I can't remember the exact number, but he would have costed more this year than Julio Jones. So
damn, that's a high number. That's a high number, man.
That's what I'm saying. So just look at the production difference that you're getting there.
And dude, I mean, we're talking about a guy that now, don't get me wrong, this is from several years ago, but we're talking about a dude that's in his career has put up 1,500 yards, 1,600 yards, 1,800 yards, 1,400 yards several times.
Even
10 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns, 8, 6.
Factor this in.
He's a beast.
He's probably only had 2 or 3 seasons where has not hit 1,000 yards. And three. And so his rookie season, he had 959. He was there. And in 2 of those seasons, he was hurt.
One he played 5 games. One he played 9 games. And one he played 13 games. If he would have just had one more game, that was his rookie season with 959. He would have hit 1,000.
And last year, the 9 games that he played, he still almost put up as many yards as Corey Davis. I mean, he wasn't far behind.
Yeah, 771. He was in the ballpark.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, yes, I'm telling you, dude. Well, I guess technically since the last episode, it's only been a couple of days, but it's still it's rough. But yeah, man, I got too worked up. It's really, I'm seeing Julio in a Titans jersey is just going to be really, I'm going to be taken aback.
I mean, look, I'm just going to say, it was like Christmas morning for me whenever I got home from church and seen the news.
Yeah, especially with excited as you get about things, anything with the Titans.
Oh, I was jumping up and down. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God.
You jumping up and down like that. It's just a funny thought.
Oh, so happy.
Just think about, I'm just going to set the scene here. Okay, so Tennessee Titans, of course, in Tennessee Titans fashion. Week 17, Houston. And they got to win. They don't have to win. They're going to make the playoffs either way. But they got to win because they got to win the AFC South, and it's Houston. Actually, let's even take it a step further. This gets them a first week bye in the playoffs. Houston's giving them a game because they always do in week 17. Always. And so it's, whatever the score is, tie ball game. 1 minute left. Do you not feel so much better going into that situation with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones rather than having A.J. Brown and Corey Davis?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, it was so funny the other day, the report come out that Julio wants to go play for, with a quarterback who can throw the deep ball.
Yeah.
And I've seen several people on Twitter just posting, the video of him hitting A.J. Brown on that last deep shot.
Against the Texans.
So, and that's what made me think of that and want to bring it up because, really now Ryan Tannehill can just kind of he can drop back,
that's one thing that we need to talk about.
He can drop back, close his eyes, and just be like, Julio or AJ down there somewhere.
Yeah. And so that's something that we got to talk about here because, this guy's job just got so much easier. And have we seen the news that he's being restructured yet? That's got to be coming.
Nothing yet.
But it's a definite, right? Well, that's happening.
He doesn't necessarily have to be restructured. They could do something with Julio's contract.
I don't know if anything's happened with that since we've been recording, but I did see they were still kind of in talks about how that whole deal was going to be structured with the contract.
J-Rob said in his interview today that, they're still They're talking about all that, trying to get it worked out. They've been talking about that since yesterday, figuring out how they're going to make it work. But we know they're going to make it work. Like,
dude, could you imagine this whole podcast and like tomorrow morning they're like, we couldn't make it happen.
No, I can't imagine that.
It would be rough. It'd be
like Titans, there is no telling what Titans Twitter would burn down.
Dude, it would literally be insane.
But either way, I wouldn't see that happening.
Or like
anyway.
he fails his physical.
Man, why you got to put all this negative shit out there?
Dude, you're right. Okay, we don't even need to think about
it. Okay, he went and worked out with Derrick Henry, so we've seen
he
those
might
videos.
fail his physical just because he still can't like even move. After working out with Derrick Henry, like he like rolls into his physical. He's in a wheelchair, and they're like, "What's, dude? We just traded for you. What's happening?" And he's like,
"Did leg day with
I worked out with Derrick Henry," and they're like, "God, somebody get him in the ice bath."
But we joke about that. Him and AJ Brown both can probably be in there with Henry.
Yeah, dude, they can keep up 100%.
Yeah.
So
now,
just how much easier does this make Ryan Tannehill's job? Like light years.
Yeah, I mean, and people still keep disrespecting him.
Dude, like even his third receiver, Aaron Rodgers would kill for that shit. Josh Reynolds, dude, he'd be pleased. He'd be like, "Thank you for bringing me at least something, like something to work with."
Now, one thing I want to jump to: have you seen what Colin Cowherd has said?
I don't even listen to that dude, man. He's a joke.
Man, I think he may just be putting this shit out there to try and get.
Well, he just wants
views.
clout.
Yeah, he's talking about how now, since the Titans have traded for Julio Jones, it at least puts them back in talks to win the AFC South. Like, because he said that the Colts have a better defense, they have a better offensive line, they have this, they have.
Okay, let's look at their
like,
quarterback situation.
I'm like, dude, we just beat them out last year. We have made moves.
They really haven't changed their defense that much.
We've made moves to improve our defense. Our offense is improved.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you not think the Titans are going to repeat as AFC South champs?
Like, you cannot tell me that Carson Wentz is going to lead the Colts to a win against the Titans. I just can't believe it. I never will believe it. If it actually happens, I might have to take a break from watching football. He's so bad, dude.
You're talking about... Are you talking about just beating them in a game in general or beating them out for the AFC South?
Anything. Like, at anything. Literally. He's so... Like, his MVP season... Well, not MVP season, but, like, he was up in talks, like, until he tore his ACL. Anyways, that's basically winning the MVP for him because he sucks so bad. Like, I just don't even understand. It was such a fluke. And, it had to be something with the system that year. I can't even watch the dude play football. Like, it just makes me mad.
I agree. I don't think that he's going to help the Colts. I definitely think that the Titans have the advantage at quarterback between the two teams.
I was just seeing a thing that, like, he was given pretty decent odds to win the 2021 MVP.
Yeah, you know what it is. The
25-1. Literally... Let me make sure. Let me read down the list and make sure. I don't even see Ryan Tannehill on the list. I'm assuming better odds than Ryan Tannehill to win MVP.
Oh yeah, they're definitely giving him better odds than Tannehill to win it because people are still saying that the only reason Tannehill has success is because of Derrick Henry. So they're not giving him the recognition that Tannehill deserves.
Like, dude, when is the bias against the Titans gonna stop? Like, if he was playing in New York, if he was playing for the New York Giants right now, doing what he's doing with the Tennessee Titans,
it's not gonna stop because the national media does not want to like the Titans.
He would be the golden boy.
It's because in their minds, we are not a big market team.
Dude, Nashville is literally massive, man.
Right, but what I'm saying is in their minds, we're not a big market team. You know that more than likely they hated seeing this news today.
Yeah, probably. But like, what does this do for Nashville? Like, imagine the people that are going to go buy tickets to watch a Titans game just because Julio Jones is on the team and they want to see this dude play.
I can tell you someone who's probably definitely scared that Julio ended up in Tennessee, and that's Pat McAfee, because through all of this Julio watch, he's been covering it just like everyone else, and he was talking about all of these different teams that should make a push for him, and he mentioned the Titans, and he mentioned the offense of Ryan Tannehill throwing the ball, Henry running it, and then having A.J. Brown and Julio Jones out there. And, he's trying to push the Colts. Hey, go get Julio. Find a way to get him. And because Julio is that receiver that people ask, who is the best receiver in the NFL other than Julio Jones? And he said that's what the Titans did. They went and got that other than guy. So, now his Indianapolis Colts have to go up against that offense twice a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I like Pat McAfee. At least he's owning up to it. Like, yeah, if they get him, it's gonna be scary.
It's scary. And he even said, the reports are probably gonna come out about what was given up for Julio Jones, like what the team gave up to get him. And he said, even today, when he's seen what the Titans gave up, he was like, 25 other organizations, their fans should be absolutely pissed off
dude,
right now.
Okay, let's just imagine another team, even one that's not even in the race, wasn't even really in deep talks. Let's go back to Aaron Rodgers. That point, he's already pissed off the Packers anyways, and
that could have been a move for the Packers.
Dude.
That
you can't give up a second
okay.
and a fourth, and if you're not asking for a sixth back from him, probably a second and a fifth. He's like, you can't give that up just to give me just a little bit of something.
Now that would have been scary too.
Yeah, dude, and that might have mended fences between the Packers and Aaron Rodgers,
Devontae Adams and Julio.
Dude. I mean, I'm just glad that things worked out the way that they did, because we've been able to have just a conversation of what ifs today.
Oh yeah, and Taylor Lewan is still out there trying to recruit a little bit more, because Jalen Ramsey seen the news and made a comment on it. He's like, hey, we could have been unstoppable if y'all would have done this. And Taylor Lewan was like, you trying to come to Nashville?
You up?
Yeah. Just a round of applause right quick for A.J. Brown and his...
He made it happen. He made it happen. Thank you, A.J. And thank you, TikTok.
Yeah.
Do we think things are over for the Titans' offseason moves? I would still like to see Rashaan Evans get dealt somewhere for maybe something, honestly, to help the secondary out a little bit more. Or anything, really.
I don't think their moves are over. I think they may still try and make a couple of things happen. It's going to depend, obviously, since they did have to give up some picks to get Julio. As far as trades or anything like that goes, they may not be as willing to give up picks if, they can't just get it done for a player or something like that. And because, again, it comes down to, it has to be one of those guys that you don't even have to think about pulling the trigger on.
Now imagine they give up Rashaan Evans and get their 4th round pick right back.
I mean, maybe deal Rashaan Evans and... I don't know, maybe another pick for a tight end that's out there.
Yeah.
Maybe like Zach Ertz, someone like that.
I was hoping maybe there would be a tight end packaged in the Atlanta deal, but...
Well, you can't always get what you want. But, not... So Julio worked out with Derrick Henry, and now all of a sudden Julio has become a Titan. Apparently, Derrick Henry was hanging out with O.J. Howard.
Right, we're talking about AJ Brown, and we're talking about Taylor Lewan, all these other guys, whatever, on TikTok, on Twitter. But Derrick Henry is the only dude with boots on the ground, actually being with these guys. Didn't hey, you like coming and working out with me. You see what I'm doing. I mean, you obviously know nobody's going to tackle me next year. You could come. You could.
Do you like facing one-on-one coverage?
It's like he's like I'm trying to think of what it is, like a telemarketer salesman. It's just like calling different people in the NFL, whatever, wide receiver, tight end. Yeah, I'm calling today to see if you want to come to a team that has a good chance to win a Super Bowl, and you'll basically be open all the time because we just got Julio on board, and we already got an up and coming wide receiver. He's a superstar. Basically, defenses are not even going to know who you are. You're probably going to have a standout year. Go and cash out next year in free agency and get paid, get a ring. So it's basically a win-win for you.
Now, another funny thing is preseason, the Titans get to travel down to Atlanta and play them in a preseason game.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool to see, especially with Julio, just absolutely destroying their secondary. Because, Atlanta's just going to be terrible next year, man.
I don't know. They still have some weapons.
Be terrible, dude. They're going to be so bad.
They still have some weapons.
See, you're carrying your optimism over to a completely different team.
Because here's the thing. Atlanta, I'm not saying they're going to have a Super Bowl season or anything like that, but I still don't think they're going to be in.
They're definitely not making the playoffs.
I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but I don't see them being bottom of the barrel like the Jets, Jaguars.
They might be drafted number 1 next year.
I still don't see that just because they do have Calvin Ridley still. They added Kyle Pitts.
Okay, what is he without Julio? We don't know.
I mean, he still had a pretty good season even when Julio went down last year.
Yeah, but...
I'm just saying, they have pieces where...
Even just the fact that Julio's on the roster, that still helps Calvin Ridley. So I don't even care if he's not on the field.
It wasn't helping the Falcons too much, Julio being on the roster, because they couldn't afford to sign their draft picks.
For one, it was a joke. Even Julio on the sideline still draws double.
I know. But,
way over your head.
No, it didn't go over my head. It just wasn't that.
I don't have anything else to talk about, really. I mean,
we pretty much covered all the Julio stuff. I'm excited to be in Nissan Stadium this year.
Especially, I'm going to have to go to a game.
Especially for week 1.
Dude, it's gonna be insane. It's gonna be insane. People are so hyped up about Julio. Can you just imagine when the dude comes out of the tunnel?
Oh, it's gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be insane.
And his first touchdown in Nissan Stadium.
Yeah, that'll be crazy.
I mean, I'm hoping that it's gonna be, at the end zone, close to the Titans tunnel, because that's where I'm gonna be sitting.
Maybe he'll throw you the ball after he scores.
Hey. I'd be down.
All right, well, that's all that I got. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Guys, make sure that you're with us on social media. If you enjoyed this episode, leave us a rating.
Preferably 5 stars.
Say something super nice. Say, how much you love the podcast. Everyone should listen to it. All the things, that we know are true.
Golly, could you sell out any harder?
Anyways, make sure you're with us on Twitter, Titans_time, Facebook, Titans Time, Instagram, Titans Time Podcast, and that's all my stuff, I'm pretty sure. So now you go.
We've already told you to go subscribe, so if you haven't already, just make sure you go do that.
That's it, pretty much. I mean, like the video on YouTube and all that good shit. This has been Titans Time, and as always, tighten up.